Hey, what's up? Welcome everybody. In this video we are going to create a blog API. This is the series that we started in which we built this admin panel and we added a couple of features like these: user management, notification, activity log. So we'll be integrating a new feature called blog management, or you can say content management. It will be similar like WordPress. So here we'll be adding the section to manage blog. So for that we will create API endpoints to create blog, to list all blog items, and to update and delete. Alright, so let's get started. So if you want to follow along, you can find source code here and just clone it. Alright, so first thing, we'll create a blog model, migration and controller. So PHP artisan make model, and we'll call it blog and create everything with a flag. Okay, so it created factory migration. Okay, so first thing, let's design database table. So let's go to blog table migration. So inside blog we'll need a couple of things like table. First thing will be the title. Similarly we'll need content, and I pasted a couple of fields, like one field for published at, so that we can identify when the post should be published, or if it is already published, that will be the date. So like in WordPress, we schedule our blog post to publish in some time on future. Similarly, author ID, featured image, field for featured image for unique slug, and status. So status will be anything from this list, so it will be enum. So by default I've put the draft, and similarly timestamps. So one field we can also add is like soft deletes, so that in future if we want to soft delete it, so basically it will add deleted add field. Alright, so that's it for our schema. Okay, so let's go ahead and migrate it. So PHP artisan migrate. So I've already migrated, so I'm not going to do that. So one more thing, we will create a factory. So blog factory, that is just generated when we created model. So this will be helpful for testing and to seed some data. So I will update it with some code, like title will be some fake title, company name, and content will be paragraph, and author ID will just fetch some user and populate that as author ID. Alright, so let's populate our blog table with some data. So app blog, so we'll generate a couple of like 5 data. So there we go. So now let's see that. Let's refresh and go to blog. Yeah, so we should see those fake generated data. Alright, so we successfully seeded our data. So next step is to create endpoint in our blog controller. Alright, so first let's define this index method. So it will simply return blog all, and let's go to let's define route as well. So let's first close this sidebar, and so basically we'll define that route in API endpoint, but for this admin panel I've defined admin this route admin.php, that is also inside our routes admin. So I've just created another file and defined that on route service provider. So I've done that on previous video, you can watch that out. So just created this map admin route, and prefix will be API, and all routes will be coming from this file routes admin, and also this web middleware is getting applied. So let's go to admin route admin.php, and let's define another one for blogs, and this will be in blogs controller. or block controller. Alright, so let's go to Postman and hit that endpoint. So I have already these couple of collections. So our route name is lvadmin.test. So lvadmin.test and API/blocks. So if we send requests to this endpoint, yeah, we should get all the blocks. So but that is not our required behavior. We want to just return the block of currently logged in user. So before that, let's define a resource. So I will open up new terminal and let's define a resource, API resource, PHP artisan make resource block resource. Alright, so let's go to block resource. So for now we don't need to do anything here. In controller we will just return block resource and collection, okay, and just put this thing and we should get same result. There we go. So it just wrapped inside this data. And next thing, so this is returning all block, but we just want the blocks of currently logged in user. All right, blocks. So what we can do is first get auth user and then get the blocks of that user. So that's it. So currently we do not have these blocks defined on user model. So let's go to user and let's create a new method. Let's create blocks, return this has many, block class, and the foreign key will be author ID. So we have defined author ID, that's why we need to specify. If we have defined user ID in our migration here, we shouldn't have to specify. Okay, so that's it. And let's go back to block controller, and so this should return the currently logged in users block. So if you try to hit this endpoint, it will not work because we haven't wrapped the route. So in my case it is working, but in your case it shouldn't work, because for example, let's try to hit this endpoint in our incognito window. Let's go to open guest window and try to execute that same route. Yeah, so it is saying trying to get property blocks of not on an object, because we are not authenticated, right? So what should we do is we should wrap this route inside auth middleware. Okay, so let's go to admin.php route. So in fact everything in this group should be inside auth, or you can just specify this only using auth. So if you go to this and hit again, it should show us, yeah, it should redirect us to login. So that is the proper response. So in sorry, in my case it is working because I put some cookies like auth cookies behind the scenes. So I'll show you how to add that. So here inside cookies I have couple of cookies like Laravel session, so it will be auto generated. So what you can do is clear them all and add new cookies. So if in your case it should show like this, yeah, like this. Okay, so this route is not working. So this is slightly different API. In our other APIs, what we should do is in authorization, we should set a new header like authorization header, like here authorization and bearer token. So but here we are using Laravel default session. That's why we need the authenticated user session in order for this endpoint to work. All right. So currently it is showing us this form. If you want JSON response, you can just put accept here, accept JSON. So it will say give us JSON response unauthenticated. All right. So how do we authenticate this time? So we just put session cookies that Laravel got. So that you can get inside from your browser. So just log inside your browser with authenticated user. So just log out. So I'm already logged in, but if you are not registered, just register new user and just log in. You should get to this admin panel. If not, just go to there, and you can get cookie information in couple of ways. So if you have installed this web developer extension, you'll get from here cookie extension inside this cookies tab. So this web developer Chrome extension, highly recommended. So just go to view cookie information, and there are two cookies active in this page. So XCSRF token and Laravel session. All right. So let's first put in this Laravel session. So just copy name, head back to Postman, just get rid of everything, these default cookies, and this cookie value should be Laravel session, and the value should be this value. Just copy everything, go back to Postman and just put in that, save it. And you can add XCSRF token field as well, but we'll disable that because we do not need that on API endpoint. So this session is everything you required, but if you try to access this time, it should, so it will work for get routes, but will not work for post route. That will get in a moment. So for now it is working. So previously it was saying unauthenticated, but this time it is working. All right, so let's create another endpoint, and let's so we don't need this create endpoint. This is in our API, we do not need create. So store. So let's create a store endpoint. We'll do some validation. We'll validate, request validate, and we'll validate. We require this title, and similarly we'll require the content. So for content to be defined, we require these two fields at least. And then what we'll do is we'll first grab auth user and then create request all. So that should create all field, and then we'll return new blog resource and then pass in blog that is just created. So this will return the just created blog. That's it. All right. So this is bare minimum stuff to create a blog. So if you do like this, create request all, you must define fillable. So let's go to blog model, and we should define a fillable field here. All right. So like so. So we made these fields fillable: title, content, publish, ad, and status. Okay, so now let's try to create a new blog post in Postman. So let's add new, and we'll copy this endpoint from here into here. So we'll be sending post route. So we will be form data. Let's give title new post, new blog post, content testing new blog post. So that should be fine. So if we try to create that, let's try to create that. Let's send request. So preview. Yeah, so we get 419 page expired. So that means we should supply CSRF field. So one option is just put CSRF field here, token field here, and put token. But what we'll do is we'll just disable this CSRF token on this endpoint, which is basically already activated in API routes. So since we are using web middleware that is already activated, we need CSRF token. So let's go to admin. Let me show you what I mean. So web middleware is getting applied to all these routes from this route service provider. I've defined this map API tokens and applied web middleware. So if we go to HTTP kernel class and see this web middleware group, so this verify CSRF token middleware is applied. That's why we need a token, CSRF token. Alright, so what we are going to do is we'll disable that verify CSRF token in this particular route for these particular routes. Alright, so let's go to that middleware, verify CSRF token, and here is accept. So here we'll define API. So everything that follows this API and everything all route, just disable that route. Alright, sorry, disable that middleware, this middleware, verify CSRF token. Okay, so let's go to Postman again and try again. This time it should create. Oh, sorry about that. Here we missed blocks. So it is trying to create inside user. That's why it is saying this name doesn't have default value. So let's go ahead and send request again, and this time it should create. Yeah, there we go, freshly new blog post. And if we go to list blog endpoint and let's refresh again, and we should see that new post, new blog post right below here, new blog post. So let's sort this by latest first. Latest get. So this should just put this in first. So latest blog post should show on top. There we go. Okay, so our create endpoint is also in place. So if we see that on our DB, so we got these field, author field is applied, so slug is null, and yeah, status draft, everything looks fine. So what we'll do is next we'll just put this slug by default. We'll just slugify this title. So in store, in order to put the slug, what we'll do is we'll intercept this request. So I will call it input, and I will define input here. Input equals to request all, and then input slug equals to str slug. So this is the default helper offered by Laravel. So request slug, sorry, request title. Alright, so we'll slugify this title and insert inside slug. That's it. And just verify this slug is fillable. No, it is not. Let's put slug as fillable as well. Let's go back. So one more thing we'll do for published at as well. So let's first test this. Let's go to Postman and on create blog. So there is a title. Let's make brand new blog. Send. There we go. So slug is a brand new blog. So that is working. So next what we'll do is we'll populate this published ad. So for that we need to parse it, because we what I'm thinking of it, suppose for example, let's see, so I want to type published ad. So I just want to type this Friday. Alright, so that will automatically parse it and populate the published ad field. Alright, so in order to do that, what we need to do is here just input published ad. So published ad, and we'll do carbon. Make sure to import it, carbon parse request published ad. Alright, so that's should do the work. So first let's check this published ad is coming from form, because we are not making that required. So we can make published ad required or just leave empty. So we'll check here if request field. So field will check if that this published ad got any value or not. So if that is null, we don't want to parse the carbon. So if we parse the null, it will just do now. Okay, so it will just put the current date inside published ad, which we do not want. So if request field published ad, so if we got published ad field any value other than null or false value, we will just parse the carbon will parse that date and just put it in here. Okay, so let's go ahead and test that. So published ad this Friday, and let's send request. So published ad this Friday. Alright, so our create endpoint is all set. So now let's move on to our show. So show will be simple. We'll just show the blog post like so, and we can easily test that like here. So just copy everything, or we already got there. So blogs 1, if we want to see, we need to send get request blog number 1 with ID 1. There we go. So we can see any post, any blog post. So moving on, let's deal with update. So this edit route we do not need. So update, so that edit route is just to display form. In API we do not need, if in case you are wondering why I deleted that. So update endpoint is pretty simple. First let's grab input. So that will be the similar to create. I'll just paste the code and explain. So we are checking if title is coming in request. If there is title, we'll slug that, and if same thing like we just did for published ad, and we are simply updating the blog. Alright, and we are returning that. Update is pretty simple, and delete is also like, first we grab the blog and delete, and then just return a blog deleted response like so. Okay, so now let's test these two endpoint. Let's here. So in order to update, we just send put request. So currently let's see title is this. So unfortunately we do not use this form data for updating. It won't work. Yeah, so it doesn't work, right? So we need to do this raw and application JSON. So browser do not know the put request, that's why we need to do that. So suppose we want to update title, we just pass title and updated cool title, and let's send the request. There we go, updated cool title. All right, so suppose we want to update published add date, send it. There we go, updated cool title and published add date this Saturday. So update endpoint is working. So now you can verify here as well. And let's delete this post. Just send delete request to same endpoint, this endpoint. It will delete the post with ID 1. Let's send, yeah, block deleted. So if we try to get this, because we have just deleted it, it should say not found. Yeah, not found. Yeah, so this is basically the CRUD operation for block. So currently if we see here, anyone can delete anyone's post, so we can just grab by ID, so we shouldn't allow that. So we should only allow the user who created the blog post to delete his or her own blog post. So user number 1 shouldn't delete the post of user 2. All right, so we need to set up some sort of authorization for that. Okay, so what we can do is we can set up authorization in a couple of ways. So you can refer to this documentation. If you need too much like logic, you can create policy class, but in our case we just need to check whether the post belongs to the currently logged in user or not. That's why we will just make use of this gate. So we'll define new gate in our auth service provider, just here. So just grab this. Okay, so we'll update block. There we go. So block author ID. So in block we have this author ID field. We'll just check this user's ID with the author ID. So if that matches, it will allow to update, otherwise it won't. So this user is automatically injected. So this is the gate, and now let's make use of this gate in our block controller in delete method. So here first we'll check if gate allows update block, and then we need to pass the block as well. If that denies, so if it denies to update or it is not authorized user, we'll just abort and say 401, sorry, not authorized, or any message you want. So it will just abort and do not execute this code. Okay, so this update block should just match this name, update block, and user is automatically authenticated, and we need to pass this block model here. Okay, so let's go and test this out. So we are listing the currently logged in users blog posts with ID these 10, 5, and we can verify that here 10. So currently logged in user is with ID 2. Let's change. So if you see here 3 with blog number 3 is author ID, and currently I have created some user 3 and 2. So what I will do is I will just change the author ID of this blog post number 3 to author number 3. Okay, just for testing. So these two block belongs to author ID 3. Alright, so now this belongs to author, this author. And now the currently logged in user, which is user with ID 2, shouldn't be able to delete these posts with ID title 3, ID 3 and 5. Alright, so let's go to Postman and let's try to delete. So delete request to block 1 is already deleted. Let's try to delete this 9, which is already belongs to the currently logged in user. It should allow 9. Okay, we just forgot to import these class. So get we need to import this facade class. So Control Alt I have namespace resolver class extension installed for VS Code, or you can just manually import this here, this class. Same thing for auth service provider, we need to import that. Right click, import class, or Alt I, this class already imported. So now let's go back to Postman and send request again. Yeah, block deleted. Now let's try to delete the block with ID 3. It shouldn't allow. It should say unauthorized 3, send. Let's preview it. Yeah, so 401 unauthorized. Alright, so if you want JSON response, as always, you can just accept only JSON response and it should throw the JSON response. Sorry, not authorized. Alright, so currently it is not it is doing authorization check as well, so only the authenticated user will delete its on blog posts. So same thing we want for show and update as well. Alright, so just grab this code and throw it for update and show as well. So for show we will not allow because we want to, so it depend on your application's logic. Alright, so in my case I will allow to view posts, but I will not allow to update or delete other users posts. That's it. Okay, so one last thing I want to add is just ability to sort. So for example, if user want to get blog posts by status, like all blog that are published, that are dropped, so we should allow that as well. So here what we can do is we'll just accept the request, this request, and we will just construct a block query which will just contain up to this point. We'll just call the get on block query, and we can just loop any condition, like where condition here. So like, so if we are getting status from there, so block query, and if we got a status, we'll just filter that and we'll return the filter result. So simple filter, so we can check that. So in another cool post, and let's status published. So if you do that, we shouldn't get anything. There we go. And let's make some status published, and let's try to get that. Yeah, there we go. So we get only published. So if we remove that, we should get everything. There we go. Alright, so this is basic blog API. So hope you learned something out of it or enjoyed it. If you do, please subscribe. I will be adding couple more videos where we'll be adding tags, categories and other stuff. So see you in another video. Bye.